ladies and gentlemen. My next guest is KLAUS. KLAUS is the Black Viking, or he is the main figurehead of the Black Vikings. What are the Black Vikings? Who is KLAUS? You are going to be listening to an amazing story, an account of adversity against all the odds. It's my privilege and an honour to welcome KLAUS, the Black Viking.
Yeah, talking to my mirror like I love you so much. Curving on my critics like I heard you, so what? You can't kill my confidence, I think I'm the man. Tally all the I ever gave on my head. Lately I've been living like I can't take a loss. They ain't wanna help me, that's what made me a boss. You can't kill my confidence, I think I'm the man. We don't give a that's what they don't understand. I'm back again like flu season. I broke records while loose leafing. I'm coming down my roof, leaving. Don't give a I don't care. Did the by my lonesome. No wonder now I'm on one. No shortcuts on that long run. All I really want is my share. Get on my God, I told him it's nothing. In the discussion, all them feelings I throw all my pain on percussion. It's disgusting. I hear them bragging about that they did, and it do not move me, not in the least. They ain't been.
This, what we've created, the world that we're living in right now.
Yeah. That
to me seems irrational and crazy. But what do I know? You know.
None of us are going to get to the bottom of it, are we?
No. I don't know. To be honest, I've tried with the limited information I have to try and figure out what's the agenda, what's the point of all of it. You know, like, I mean, if we subscribe to the theory that something is being, you know, powers that be, something is being done. I said this thing ages ago, but I don't think I fully understood it when I said it. But every generation is more domesticated than the last, you know? So it becomes, we all become a little bit more domesticated. And the thing is, through that domestication, like we do it to ourselves, you know? So it's like, I've noticed how, you know, people getting at other people about wearing the masks, and it's not even that the police have to enforce it. We do that ourselves, you know? And I've seen people attack others, and then the whole toilet roll thing, and you see those things, and I don't know. I also think the genie is out of the bottle kind of thing. I don't know if you can go back.
So I don't know, man. I really don't know. But I don't think it's going to end. Not anytime soon.
I don't know. I mean, the thing is, I'm curious about what the next stage is to this, you know. But
they don't care about us, KLAUS, do they? We're just little fleas that they're going to flick off the backside.
Pretty much.
I want to ask you a question.
Go for it.
For the people that don't know, what is the Black Vikings? How did it come about? What does it mean? What is it?
Okay, I mean, basically, it's I would call it a movement, but if it is a movement, it's a movement with no members. So literally, I mean, it's a movement of me. I'd always hoped that one day I would be able to amass, you know, a large group of people that would subscribe to the philosophy, and but so far I haven't really been successful. But essentially, it started with literally just me training, you know, training myself. The way I've always trained, which basically is just, you know, the muscles and, you know, looking a certain way and so on. And then, I mean, I was wrestling them days, so the idea of functional training started, you know, playing. I mean, we're talking over a decade ago now, but the idea of functional training came to my head, so I adapted my training a little bit, and then really Black Vikings, I would say, didn't really start until I got into a really deep depression, and that was a while ago, but I was in it for about 3 years, I would say.
Okay.
And basically I just concluded, because I lost everything else in my life. I didn't have my fiance, I didn't have a job, I didn't have, you know, savings, I didn't have anything really. Basically, I was like, you've got nothing, you lose nothing, you have nothing to lose. So I created the 7 sagas, which is basically a saga is like a let's call it a journey, where a transformation happens. And I created 7 sagas, and each saga basically is to address what I considered a weakness within me. So, for example, one would test, lack of commitment and so on. And so I created sagas, and then I embarked on this journey of completing them. But each saga has to be completed 3 times. There are 7. And I mean, if I'm lucky, if I get to live to 90, I still will probably not be able to complete them. But the idea, really, I would say, Black Vikings existed prior to that, but really with the sagas is what I would say was the true birth of it. And
how did you come up with these? I want to touch on this, Klaus, because these sagas are not just training, are they? These are something. If we can elaborate on the sagas, they are something which test your emotional, psychological, and bodily strength.
Yeah.
Like, there's not much out there that does the kind of stuff that you do unless you sign up for the SAS. So, what made you? How did you come about to thinking up such tests of strength and this psychological?
I'll tell you, like, because obviously I don't want to delve too deep, but I mean, I had I would say a complicated relationship with my father from when I was little. I was born and raised in Naples, which is in Italy, which was, I mean, this was like in the late 70s. And it was, the people that knew me, I was good with, but obviously I was the only Black kid in the whole village, so I faced racism from very early in my life.
Okay.
And plus the drama with my dad, so I've never really had, like that guiding father figure or that self-confidence within me, and then when I came to this country, I had to face racism even here. Here it was violent.
When was that? What year was that?
I came here in 1990.
In 1990?
Yeah, 1990.
And where did you? Was this in London?
Oh yeah, straight to London.
Right.
And I mean, I don't know if you were in London that day.
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
But yeah, London was a very different place. I mean, you'd have NF, graffitied on walls, and I mean, it was like I lived in an area where it was mainly white gangs.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, I was basically, most of my youth is just basically running from one place to another, and sometimes you get caught, and you get beaten up bad. But I mean, so essentially, I never had that self-confidence within me, and to be honest, once I came of age and I started training, and I built some muscles, and I don't know, girls started to like me, and so I kind of thought, subconsciously, I created my ego, built my ego and my self-worth around that, around the fact that I looked good, I could get girls, and I was strong, and that was it.
That's a good reason.
Yeah, well, I mean, the problem is it's good, but the problem is it's good until if you can keep it. If you lose it, then your self-worth goes with it.
Yeah, sure.
Essentially what happened is I got run over by a car. I did, my fiance left me, and then basically it's just, so I couldn't walk properly, I couldn't move properly, I was always in pain. The woman left me, I lost the job, and I was like, well, what do I build myself around now? Everything that I built around this pillar of strength, and it's all gone. So I was like, now I have to almost like restart from new. And so so basically I was like, and also, so another part, but I found out very early on in my life that I couldn't have children.
Okay.
So that also played in your mind that obviously it's like I can't, so I will never be able to have a child and, find almost meaning in that, and being a father. So that was gone. So I was like, I can't be physically strong because this injury is stopping me. I couldn't do pull-ups, couldn't do a push-up. And it just seemed like it was overwhelming. And that's why I was in that depression for so long. And then eventually I was like, okay, I can walk. I can do something. So I created these sagas. And in fact, the first saga, the Death March, is basically me carrying a 40-kilo sandbag through central London for 7.2 miles. And I did it, you know, and then I created all the other sagas, and then basically just became of, you know, trying to make Black Vikings, the 7 sagas, the 100 acres of land that I want to acquire for, you know what, this is going to be my baby, you know, my child, or my God, you know, meaning you need to have something, a rudder in life. If you don't have a rudder, generally people that are depressed and commit suicide, and I've known many, you know, generally it's because they're going through life without a rudder. You need something, anything. I mean, it doesn't even need to be true. You know, you need to believe it.
Yeah.
So I mean, if I make the 7 sagas my rudder, it doesn't matter that they hold no value to anybody else. It only needs to make sense to me. Like the fact that you believe in this God, it's fine. It doesn't matter that I don't believe it's true. No, it only matters to you. If it can provide you with the rudder to go through life, who am I to argue against that? There is no meaning but that which we create for ourselves. So this is the meaning that I created, and I built a universe around it, and with poetry, narrative, stories, and epic. I mean, if I could make a movie, it would be the most epic movie with these ideas. And it's enough to fuel me on all these adventures that I go on. And it's enough to make me content when I have nothing.
So your saga, I mean, that the first one, I wrote it down there, the Death March with 40 kilos. What are some of the others, Klaus? What's some of the other?
Well, remember, every saga has 3 attempts. So the first attempt was the Death March, was 40 kilos. The second attempt was a 60-kilo sandbag.
Right.
And the third attempt was the one that put me in hospital.
Yeah, we'll come on to that. Yeah.
That was the 60-kilogram railway sleeper. Then the second saga is, sorry, I've got it written on my wall. Second saga is the Boneless.
I've heard that.
Yeah, the Boneless saga, which so far I've only completed 2 attempts, so I have one attempt there.
So what is the Boneless for people that don't know, who want to understand your journey? What's the Boneless saga?
Boneless saga is basically my attempt at addressing my need for success, you know, to succeed. So basically, I calculated a distance of 160 meters, and your leg use of your upper body strength alone, you are dragging yourself and a 20-kilo plate. My first attempt was 20 kilos, second attempt was 40 kilos.
Okay.
You're in that plate by upper body strength alone for 160 meters. Now, when you do this, you quickly find out you can't make huge strides. You're literally moving inches at a time, you know, and that was basically me trying to build the Black Vikings and being unhappy that it's not developing quick enough, and realizing that if I move an inch at a time, that's enough.
What about there's one where you row, isn't there? The long.
Yeah.
What's that one?
That was the third saga. It's the raid, and I calculated the distance from London to Nook in Greenland.
Yeah.
And basically, there was a group. Initially, there was about, I think at the most there was 18, and then it dropped down to, like, you know, the last bit was literally 5 of us. And basically, I said every day we're gonna row until we grow the distance, which was about 5.5 million meters from London to Nook. And we did that in about a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah. And the last day, when we had, we had 500,000 meters left, and there was 5 of us, and 4 in the UK, 1 in the US.
Yeah.
And we decided to do it all in one day. So basically, we got on the rowing machine at 9 a.m. and everybody basically started rowing. And I think it took 10 hours or 12 hours. And each of us concluded 100,000 meters. And so that concluded the first attempt of the raid saga. But there's another 2 attempts coming for that.
Wow. So each one builds on the last one.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about where you've gone up to Scotland and What's
So
that?
that one is the Lone Saga, and the premise for that was obviously that for a very long time, especially during those 3 years of
Yeah.
that depression, I was very different then. I whinged and complained and whined a lot, and I
Right.
was just I was sad a lot that I was alone, you know.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
and I kept saying, I remember those words, always saying that I'm alone, I'm alone, I'm alone, and I was like, but are you alone really? Is anybody alone if you're living in the city? I mean, I have so many distractions around me. Even the person that claims to be the most alone in the city, I mean, you're not, you know. I was like, you want to feel alone. So I was like, all right, go up to Scotland, go up to the Highlands. And the first attempt was 5 days fasting by myself. And I mean, when I say 5 days, it may not seem like a lot,
It
but
does.
you have to think how many hours are in a day. And in winter, it gets dark around 4 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock in Scotland.
What?
So from then on,
Yeah. Did you? I mean, you obviously had water.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
water. There's plenty. There's no shortage of water in Scotland.
Yeah. I know. But you had 5 days of no food, and
That
you
was the first
like.
attempt. Yeah.
Did you take a tent or anything with you?
Oh yeah. I had the tent. I mean,
Yeah.
the first part was I climbed the mountain. Then I camped on top of the mountain, which was quite harsh because the weather was terrible. It was winter. It was like snow. I mean, thick snow.
Yeah.
And then I came down and went into the forest, into flat ground, and basically began my fast. And then, yeah, mainly it was just sitting there. And it's not easy doing nothing, especially when you've got things that you haven't addressed emotionally. And so I'm sitting there going through all these things, going through my head, things that I did that I regret, all this kind of stuff. And then at some point, I looked at the time and it was like 6 o'clock in the afternoon. And I was like, and it felt like I've been there already ages.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't take it. So I literally, I took down the tent and the tarp, and then I did it again in the darkness, just so I had something to do.
Oh, I see.
It's too much. And then that took a few hours, and then I fell asleep. But that was nothing. That was the 5 days. The second attempt, which I came back not too long ago, was 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah. And that one was, to be honest, it was a little bit better. Every morning I would wake up, go into the loch and bathe in the freezing loch. Then I would go on my walk on little walks around. And then I processed a lot of things. I wouldn't say I found, peace, but I understood. I understood a lot why I do certain things.
Yeah.
Which made me kind of accept things that I'm not happy about within myself, but at least I understood them. And now so there is one attempt left, and that will be 3 months alone up there.
I mean, a lot of people would be listening to you and probably say, it's crazy. What do you want to do that for? I can sit at home on my settee and watch Netflix. And
you can.
Do you think people nowadays are completely actually disconnected from self? Completely. If you had to put them in an environment that you just described, there's not many people going to do that willingly. And yet, shouldn't we all be challenging ourselves? Do you think that it's something that people will really benefit from, like everybody?
I think, to be honest, definitely. I mean, the one thing I say is this is proven, everything that's happening right now.
Yeah.
And sometimes I see people share videos with me or people tell me how they're really struggling, psychologically, emotionally, with everything that is happening, and depression is on the rise, and suicide. I mean, depression, if you think about it, generally it's a modern day thing, to such vast cases, it's almost a symptom of this kind of affluence where, back in the day, you wouldn't have had time to even be depressed. You would have been too busy actually living life, doing things. But we have all this spare time, and our minds, our bodies, all this stuff was not built for this kind of life. We were created under a different set of rules and circumstances. And now all of a sudden we're taking this animal because we are still an animal, that same animal, that hunter-gatherer, and we place it within this kind of, society. And you realize that, like we're not adapted to this. And you can see that the way people struggle now. But if you train, if you physically train, the only reason we train is to become stronger.
Mm-hmm.
So by the same light, a problem or an issue, something that you have to overcome is also training, but it's training for your mind, your psyche. And that is just as important, I would argue more important, but unfortunately, I don't know, I think a byproduct of affluence is everybody wants comforts and luxuries and until we don't have them. And then but it's better to prepare for something prior than having to do it now. So I see people struggling now, but you should have been prepared.
Yeah, I mean, a big thing that I subscribe to, and it's taken me my 55 years to learn it, is I always do my best when I'm uncomfortable. And it's a bit of a buzzword at the moment where they say being uncomfortable. And you've got to be really uncomfortable to strive to get to where you want to be. And unless you're in that position, then you're never going to know what it's like to get through that and achieve. Not really. Like if you're, I think we all have it a little bit easier in some ways now, i.e. clothes are easily accessible, food is simple, entertainment is simple. But as we've touched on, a lot of people committing, especially young men, committing suicide and things like that because there's this disconnection from what we truly are. And I think you're right. If you put anybody in a situation where they're up in Scotland camping on a mountain, you got to wake the fuck up.
Well, you're going to face yourself. You can't, you can't get away from that. And sometimes, people will tell you, I see there's an app, I forgot the name now, but, meditate, a few minutes here, a few hours there, or go for a walk, or, see a psychiatrist. I'm like, you forget all that. I swear to you, simple than that. Walk into a forest by yourself and stop running away from yourself. Face yourself. But when I say face yourself, no distraction, and just listen to yourself. It's hard. I'm not gonna lie to you, because your mind, it doesn't take very long for your mind to go straight to that thing that you've been pushing to the back of your mind and don't want to address.
Yeah.
But as soon as you sit somewhere in the quiet alone for a significant amount of time, you'll start thinking about that point, and it will start almost gnawing at you until you accept that you can't keep running away from it. You just have to face it. And when I say face it, is to understand why it is like that. For me, it was like my upbringing and my situation with my father and what I did afterwards and when I'm coming of age, all these things that I always, I remember even when I was growing up, I would hear that voice and I was just like, get up and do something. It was like an internal voice. Yeah. And it was I think it was actually in the voice of my mother, which is the weirdest thing. But I would always hear it. And I always, no matter what, I'll find some way to shut it off. Generally drinking kills that voice. And so
you mean alcohol? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, now it's been, for example, I think about 2.5 weeks now that I've not drunk any alcohol.
Okay, cool.
And, I'm not going back to that. But
did you drink like to the level of an alcoholic?
I wouldn't say that, but I would say I drank to quieten things down.
Yeah, I've been there. I get that.
Yeah, and then I realized it's something that I've always used. Like, I can't remember the last time that I actually drank as a social thing, with friends and stuff. There might have been a time here and there, like birthdays, but generally it was more like a medication, kind of thing, to try and silence, the voices in my head. But
yeah, and a lot of people do that, and they get caught in the trap. Just one more, just one glass, just one bottle. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. I've been there as well, Klaus, when I've had times of adversity, and far too much alcohol just disrupts. It just does disrupt your mind, and you're right. It's like a crutch. It makes you feel that little bit, I don't know, easier.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I'll say, it silenced everything down.
Yeah.
But when really you need like whatever is trying to hide, silence down for me, must be what I have to focus on. That means it shouldn't be silenced, it should be amplified. That's what I got to head towards. And if I want the kind of success, and when I say success, I don't mean monetary success, but the kind of success that I'm chasing, I need to head straight towards that voice. I don't need to find a way to silence it, and that's why. I mean, also the type of person that I am, I'm a man of extremes. I don't do anything half-hearted. So everything I do, I fully throw myself in completely.
Man.
And so, and this is why I have to be very careful with alcohol, and any kind of.
So if you had the opportunity, you said about having like 100 acres of land.
Yeah.
Is this something that you would do for other people? Is this something you want to impart onto people? What's your kind of, if you could see yourself in the future doing what you wanted to do, what would that be? Where would you see yourself in an ideal world? Let's just play.
I mean, I said, in an ideal world, I would have a minimum of 100 acres.
Yeah.
I want to basically grow my own food, rear my own animals, have a self-sufficient farm, or let's say community. In terms of the people, I don't need it. I mean, I don't mind, it could be people of all backgrounds. The main thing is just, I want a return to a simplistic way of living, a time where almost, like in Africa, you'd have rites of passage, for a boy to go into manhood. Sure. We don't have any of that in the Western world, No,
and I think the boys get a little bit too cocky.
Well, yeah. I mean, one of the things I've always said is that everybody, especially when you're coming of age, everybody should get punched in the face. Everybody at least once, for two reasons. One, it teaches you that you're not made of glass, and then two, it just keeps the ego in check. Because and this is the one thing that I would say. I know some community they would have that rites of passage for a boy to go into manhood. We don't have that in the Western world. All you have is basically at some point, generally at 18, you're considered a man, just like that. When you grow some hair on your chest, your balls, boom, your balls. You know what I mean? That's the sign that you're into manhood. But I mean, it's such a significant change, from childhood into manhood, and I don't think enough. We're not really trained for it, and especially. I mean, there is a lot of people like me where we didn't grow up with fathers, so you don't even have that father influence. You kind of have to wing it. So you're learning a little bit from here, a little bit there from there. And if you're lucky, you have some other positive role models, male models in your life. If you're not, that screws you, So it's just, I would like the idea of creating that, to almost replace, for those who don't have it, to give that passage from boy into man.
Kind of like mentoring.
Yeah. But I would say a little bit more in the sense of, to enter. Some could live in the community. Yeah. Some could visit, and stay, but essentially focused around, I always said, physical betterment and mental freedom. And so when I say mental freedom, the only way we can regain freedom is by losing technology. So yes, I think initially it freed us. It gave a lot of opportunity to us, but I think over time, is just imprisoning us further and further.
Yeah, it's definitely some kind of mental slavery to the
Yeah, I mean, it's
iPhone.
only going to get
iPhone.
worse now. I mean, you look now with, you know, when the internet first came out, it was freedom, you know, access to all this information, you know, like all of a sudden you could find out anything, you know, like, I mean, now there is so much information. It kind of, the only logical response to all that emotion, all the information is inaction. Don't act. How can you possibly act? One thing tells you do this, the other thing tells you a completely contradictory message. Then, I mean, where does anybody begin? So the wisest thing is almost don't move, you know?
No, there's definitely I think that the connotations of what's happening, or the reverberations of what is happening now to people psychologically, and all types of things, really, is not going to come out, or it will come out over the next 10 years or 20 years, maybe even 50 years. It's, you know, when we look at young people, and I'm talking about kids from, you know, 3 or 2 to 6 or 7, and what they are going through psychologically, it must leave a scar. They say, show me the child, or show me the boy at 6 and I'll show you the man. And it's very true. What they learn, what you learn at a very young age, can carry you on into your entire life. And, you know, I just wonder what our society is going to be looking like in 20 years' time as these kids come through.
I mean, it's because you're right. I mean, if you think, I mean, even like when you grew up, and also me, it, you know, like you would have had the influence of your parents. They would have had the main impact into your life. But then very soon after that would have been school and the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And, but now, I mean, arguably, I say with the parents, probably arguably more than the parents, is Instagram, TikTok, I don't know, whatever other site you have. Social media is huge, you know, and the thing is with social media, it can be anybody. Yeah. Anybody's having a major impact on your child and how that child is going to grow into this world.
Yeah, I mean, when we were young, they said that the TV was the idiot box, and if you sit there, you're going to get square eyes and all sorts of problems. I remember my mum and dad saying it to us, you know, and we only had 3 channels, you know, ITV, BBC. Yeah, or 2 channels even. Yeah.
Channels. And I remember when TV used to go off, you know. Yeah. Do you remember that? Like there was a certain time, it just be, and it'd be that little girl with
with a balloon and a blackboard.
That's it.
But you see, everyone had common ground then, because Top of the Pops was on Thursday night. Everybody watched it, and everybody talked about it the next day or the day after at the weekend. Everybody knew who was Top of the Pops, who was the best singers, and when films come on, you all watch the film. Like, did you see the film last night? Yeah, I saw it. And we all had a common ground. And now it's like, you no idea what people are watching, really. Everyone's watching completely different. Like my stepsons, they tell me about things. I have no idea what they're talking about. Like, no idea at all. Yeah. And I think that there is, like you said earlier, there's too much choice. There's too much, maybe. That's a good thing and a bad thing, isn't it? I don't know.
You know, like I don't know. Do you know Ted Kaczynski?
Not sure.
The Unabomber.
He's a what? No.
Unabomber. You know, the guy that in America was sending packages. I think he did it in in 1978, but he was sending packages, mail bombs, basically.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but he's a very interesting man. Yeah, like he had an IQ of he has an IQ of 160. But he basically wrote a manifesto. And this manifesto is one of the most, especially the beginning part, was one of the most interesting reads. But he talks about the industrial society and its future. That's the name of the essay. And he makes one point about technology, you know, and he says, in the beginning, all technology is great. You know, it offers you with opportunities. He says it is only afterwards that it takes away human freedom. So meaning, for example, if you think of the car, when the car first came into existence, it would have afforded you so much freedom. You could travel from one side of the country to the other. I mean, it was great. Then as soon as more people buy cars and it becomes the status quo of technology, as soon as that becomes established, now all of a sudden there's so many cars, we need laws, to keep people from crashing. So now you have to have an MOT, you have to have this, you have to have a license, you have to pay this. And it becomes to the point, because everybody has it, now you have to have it. There is no way that you can go without not having it. So what became initially as if you want it, it's here and it will make your life easier. Now all of a sudden it's mandatory. You need it. Same thing with computers. I mean, I remember when you could walk into a store with your CV in hand and apply for a job. You try that now. They'll tell you apply online. So what became in the beginning is, oh, look, you'll be able to access information. The World Wide Web is great. You find out anything. You can find out where to travel, anything. And now all of a sudden, if you don't have it, you're screwed, because you can't apply for jobs, you can't buy things. And this is the point, it's that technology always begins good, but as it goes on, it just takes away our freedom. And we've come to the point that we are now, and I think the only way that we can really be free, I think we have to return, to a simpler time. I forgot the guy that wrote Sapiens, but he said the one quote that I completely agree with. And he said that the last time the man was happy, really happy and content in himself, was probably the Stone Age. We've been on a steady decline since then in terms of freedom and happiness.
We pay a price for this technology. Do you think that the Matrix, there's a lot of truth in that film?
I forgot who said it, but it's like, all right, well, imagine. I mean, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to disprove. It's hard to disprove because you have to. How can you? Well, imagine, for example, technology. Okay, if you look at the advent of computers, when the first computer came out, which arguably I would say probably IBM in the 40s, that was the first prototype. And you look at where we are right now in terms of computers, I mean, it's amazing. It's in such a short time how they developed. So I think it wouldn't be too far off to say that, let's say in 100 years from now, we'd be able to build a computer that could basically create a virtual reality of the whole world. And when I say the whole world, every single bit. People, and it could create simulants. So people that lived within this world, and it would be exactly a mirror copy of the world itself, with down to every minute, detail, including people. And that within these people, you could have maybe, one or two real people, but the rest would be simulants. How do we know we're not in that scenario right now?
I've heard this before.
So this is the point. I don't think it's something that we can't prove, we can't disprove. Anything is possible. How do I know I'm even here? How do I know that?
You don't. Yeah, that's the thing. How do you know?
It's just my brain. It's just my brain telling me, bro. If I look back at all the stuff, all the injuries I've sustained over time. I mean, I got run over by a car, and I couldn't walk properly. And I got over that. I gave myself concussions, numerous concussions, cut myself open at the side of my ribs. My arms were paralyzed, and I got over all those fights. I'm not going to let a little thing like this and I'll inject me with the way I see it is training. It's training for my immune system. And my immune system is well trained. It has been preparing for this fight since birth. I eat shit from the floor. I've always been like that from a little kid. I've exposed myself to every possible thing out there. So I have full trust in my abilities to fight this thing. And if not, then hey, okay, I die. It's meant to be.
a lot of people won't know this, but when I first met you, Klaus, you come to me to help you with some therapy for your neck because so the people who don't know, Klaus did one of his sagas, and it was your death march, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And you walked across London 7.2 miles with a 60-kilogram railway sleeper across your back, mostly.
More like a crucifix
Style.
Yeah.
No top.
Yeah.
No
Barefoot.
Barefoot, so no shoes or socks. And
a warrior is not born. He is the sum of the sacrifices he has made. Security is an illusion. Black Vikings is not a brand, not a method of training. It is a way of life. The world will deny you many things. Nobody will ever deny you struggle. That's what I got. That's what I have access to. That's what we work with. A challenge, is done and completed. A saga is a journey where a change happens, within themselves. Do you have the resolve to see it through? Or do you have the commitment to stick at something long enough like that? Most people don't.
In the crucifixion saga that you did, you decided to carry a big hunk of wood over your back.
The whole point was to basically reach a point of struggle, to push myself as close as I can to that edge, and then it really begins from there. My arms were numb.
You sustained a very, very nasty injury, Klaus, didn't you?
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us about it?
Well, the feet were shredded to begin with, but then essentially I had a fracture at the back of the neck, and then 2 of my discs pushed into my spinal cord and were lodged in there. So basically I lost sensation in the hands and movement in the arms as well.
Yeah.
And basically, so I had to go to hospital. They took 1 scan, and then basically they strapped me to a gurney. And I think like 4 hours later, they operated on me. So they put a cage in there.
Yeah.
And then, but I still couldn't move my arms and I couldn't do anything. So I had to live in St. Pancras Hospital for about 4 months.
Yeah.
I lived there, learning to move and feel things again. And then, yeah, and I would have seen you, I think, when I was discharged.
Just when you was discharged,
Summer.
yeah.
Yeah, and by then I think I could move my hands.
Yeah,
I could move my arms a little, but the sensation wasn't. I don't think it was better. Even now, I mean, to be honest, my left one is pretty good. My right sensation is probably about 60%. So I can still. I have to be careful when I test hot water or I touch hot things. But then because of that, I got Horner syndrome, so in my right eye, so I don't sweat from this side, and my eye it's a little bit cloudy, the vision. But yeah, aside from that, the arm are better, but I still can't press overhead.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and it was, you know, when I see your X-rays when you first come to see me, I mean, like you were what, millimeters away from
Yeah, I mean,
being a quadriplegic.
What the doctor said is, you're lucky to be walking.
Yeah.
So never mind, you're not moving your hands because your arms,
Man,
you know, I was lucky that you're walking.
I honestly haven't seen many, you know, X-rays that bad, you know, with the bone where it had just literally started to crumble and shatter. So that was what, 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
No, I think it's maybe 2 years.
2 years.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I think maybe 2 years.
So 2 years down the line, and you're now back to doing your sagas, your training. I believe you are walking from London to Margate this weekend.
Yeah, so I'm going Sunday, walking London to Margate, swimming in the sea, and then I'm walking back. But prior to that, I walked from London to Dartmoor National Park.
Wow.
Yeah, sleeping outdoors all the way, and that took 2 weeks. 2 weeks of walking. And I got trench foot. I don't know if you've seen trench foot, but it's horrible.
I have, yeah. I have seen it actually. Yeah, it's nasty.
Yeah, I didn't have the right shoes, and we had to keep moving. So essentially, basically, my feet were always wet, and basically, I got trench foot. They were really sore, couldn't walk properly, and then basically I had to let it heal. It's back to normal now.
Wow, man.
Yeah. So
how long is it going to take you to walk to Margate?
I'm hoping, to be honest, maybe like 30, 35, 37 hours.
37 hours.
Yeah. I mean, it's not too bad. I've done worse than that. This is kind of just not even a saga. This is more like for enjoyment. Yeah,
oh man! So you walk to Margate for enjoyment. I love that. That's absolutely radical. So you're leaving Sunday? Did you say?
Yeah, leaving Sunday afternoon. We're gonna walk all Sunday daytime into the night, or all the night, and hopefully try and get to Margate for like Monday evening, Monday afternoon, evening. We'll see. But guess who I saw the other day when I was running?
Who?
He lives in Bromford as well. He's training you for kettlebells.
Terence.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He recognized me. I was running in Elephant and Castle.
Oh, he works around that way, yeah.
Yeah. And then he stopped me, and we started chatting, and then you came up in conversation. Yeah.
Oh man,
he lives in Bromford as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, he just lives up, literally lives around the corner. I'm so glad I found Terence, because my training over the last 5 years or so it went to kaput. I've got issues, which I don't want to talk about, but it's caused me not to be able to do what I want to be able to do. And finally now I've addressed most of it, and he started to get me back in shape, man. Oh man, it kicked my ass. I mean, just the realization of how unfit I was, Klaus. Honestly. And
good, man.
Yeah, he's done really well. He's tough. He's tough, but he's really good. Really good trainer.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, like you, Klaus, you get to a certain age where there aren't many people that can impress you, or let alone train you. You know, I wouldn't be trained by most people, so I gave him a shot because I like the stuff he does. And bingo, I stayed with him for about 10 weeks, and then unfortunately this problem has stopped us being able to train properly. Yeah. But I will be back on it because I want him to get me to my RKC certification.
Good, do that. Are you still training now?
I train all the time. I train.
You've got the equipment anyway.
Yeah, I've got all my gear. I've got my gear.
Yeah.
I've done some smaller kettlebell certs in the past, but not a big one like this. I mean, this is hard style. It's really, really cool. It's just what I need. So yeah, I mean, I train every day. I either do my clubs or yoga or kettlebells. I do that at least 3 times a week. But for me, it's just about recovery now. If I train too hard, because I'm 55, I do find the recovery if I go too hard is difficult. That must be something. Are you finding that as you're getting older, just the recovery?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing is, I've noticed with me, what's happening is the accumulation of previous injuries, you know. And when I was younger, they didn't really bother me, but I've noticed that I'm achy a lot more. I'm constantly in pain, but before it wasn't so much. But obviously, you know, I've had this at the neck, you know, my hips, and then so I can't train like I could do before, you know, but I still try to push as much as I can within my limits anyway.
Yeah, I think injuries, I mean, me the same, coming from a lot of contact sports over the years and just lifting and training, it does catch up with your body, man. It really does.
You know, I think the body is not, you know, I mean, you got one life, but obviously, you know, the way some people live it, the way I've lived it.
Yeah, man.
By the time I'm finished with my life, my body's not going to be much use to anyone. But you know, like, you're supposed to live, you know. I mean, I remember when I was in hospital, and there was I was the youngest one there, and there was this woman, really sweet lady. She was 92 years old.
Yeah.
But her name was Jess, and we used to sit around the table, and she'd tell me about life during the war.
Yeah,
you know,
nice.
Really interesting woman. But obviously, her hearing wasn't good, and like, you know, and she couldn't move properly, and so she was riddled with health problems.
Yeah.
And when I would speak to her, she never heard me, but she would just talk anyway.
Yeah.
Then there was another Somalian guy, and same issues. He was paralyzed, couldn't move his legs. And I realized, and I was looking around, and I was thinking, you know, this could be me in years to come. And I've realized, and because of speaking with them, I found out about them. And they were very cautious people in their life. You know, when I say cautious, meaning they didn't do half the shit that I'm doing, you know. And I thought, look at that. I was like, I've been at all the risks that I've taken, and I will end up exactly where these people are, who have led supposedly cautious lives. And this is the point. No matter what you do in life, you're going to end up there anyway. So you might as well just go all out, you know, and experience, test the body. Life is so rare. You know, I don't think, if people really knew how rare it is to be born, you know, you wouldn't sit on your ass watching Netflix. If you knew how rare the fact that you came into existence, you know, because what are the odds? It's probably the equivalent to winning the lottery.
10 millions to one, isn't it, really?
And so after that, when I was in hospital, I was like, as soon as I can move again, I'm off. I'm doing shit. You know, I want to do more crazy things until I can't move anymore. And then I'll sit on the bed, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah, at least you've done what you said you was going to come here to do.
Exactly.
I mean, I get where you're coming from. I don't understand people that just sit back, watch Netflix, and let the world tick by while they're working their ass for somebody else. You know, working their ass off for somebody else, and you get a little bit of money to, you know, buy your beer and go to your football match. But is that what you want your life to be about?
No, I mean, these are people that live for the weekend. You know, so like him basically working, focused like a robot the whole week, just for 2 days a week. And then even their lives, they're not in the present, because they're living for that promotion, this, that, or my holiday. So they're not even living in the present, they're living in the future. You know, they're only in the present for 2 days a week or week. And I'm like, and I personally don't see the point. And I would rather take a huge pay cut, because I don't have much money, but I can go out there and do, you know, and I can
experience life. Yeah. There's
experience my body, you know. But that's the thing, you know, like I've had people contact me, like on Instagram. And generally I get a lot of people contacting me about, like, how do you, because I think a lot of people are struggling with meaning. Because I don't know, I assume they are, because I get so many questions about how did you find meaning? How, why, how are you able to, to put up with all this? I mean, I haven't been in a relationship since I broke up with my fiance. She left me, but I haven't been in a relationship since then. I don't go on holidays. I don't live, as you can see, I don't have electricity here.
No.
Like, most people be like, how do you do that? And like, the only way you can endure any kind of suffering, you're in charge of the narrative. That's all you're in charge of. So change your narrative, and create a narrative, depict a world or a universe in which, you're able to endure these things.
Sure.
And because I've done that, I'm okay with this kind of life. Like, lockdown had very little effect on me, to be honest. Life went on as usual.
Yeah.
And
what's your theory on where do we go from here, Klaus, after we're done with this body? What do you think? Do you subscribe to any kind of theories after death?
To be honest, I remember when I was a kid and I asked my dad that question. I don't know how old I was. I was quite young, but I was always fascinated with death. But I was quite young, I remember. But I asked him, what happens when we die? And his answer still haunts me to this day. And he said, do you remember? I was born in 1978. And he said, do you remember 1961? And I said, no, how can I remember? I wasn't there. And he says, that's what death will be like. And so obviously I don't think my father believes. But having said that, recently, he's 73 now. And I've noticed he's becoming more, I would say, religious or believes in something. And which is funny, the same thing that happened to Darwin, with the whole theory of evolution. But as he approached his own death, his own mortality, all of a sudden he recanted everything and turned to God.
Yeah.
So that is that I would tell you right now, at the age I'm at, which is 43, physically strong and able and good, I'll tell you honestly, I don't know what is out there. I don't think anybody has died and returned and can tell us.
No.
So I have to assume until now, I don't know. And because I don't know, I can't put any significance on it. But obviously, I'm at this age. Ask me again when I'm 70, I might be kneeling at a cross. Who knows? So
I think there are certain times in your life when you've got more things on your mind. Certainly since I've got into my 50s, I've had more time to think about mortality and spirituality and where things might go and what's out there. So you start reading about it, and if you're curious, and I'm sure you're a curious person as well, I'm sure you'll start looking into things for yourself and start making some kind of analogy. But ultimately, I mean, it doesn't matter. It's like when you said earlier, if someone believes they're going to God, good for you. If somebody believes it's Buddha and reincarnation, awesome. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. But even if you believe in nothing and you think you're just going to fade to dust and become a part of everything again, that's fine. It doesn't matter.
I mean, part of me thinks, because obviously we are, if you look at like the human body, I mean, we are energy. So, I mean, maybe like we do go on in some way in the sense that, like energy can't be destroyed. I mean, our body can die, but our essence has to go somewhere, something. So I'm sure we'll go somewhere. But in terms of consciousness, I don't think.
There are people that subscribe to the theory that when a baby is born, consciousness is placed into it, not by the parents, but by the universe. The parents are only the biological surrogates of what that being is. And I mean, when you think about it, parents can have children completely different. They look like them, but they will be on can be the complete opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of the way they think and act, like completely different. And even that can even happen with identical twins. You know, they've done the tests on that, completely different. And the same with catching disease. One person could be susceptible, a twin, and the other one fine. So there is something there is something different about all of us, even though we are biologically made by our parents. But who knows? I don't think any of us will ever know, will we?
I think my only problem with the belief in the afterlife is how I've seen how some people, like, you know, like, for example, a lot of people put up with a lot of shit because they think, you know, like my mom, for example, from when we're little, you know, like she'll be like, oh, you know, sorry, I'll suffer in this life. In the next, God will look after me.
Okay.
You know, my aunties, the same, very religious people, you know, so they take all this abuse and they think, you know what, suffering this, the next life. And I'm like, no. And I always argue with her. I was like, who told you there's a next life? I was like, so maybe, and I think this is the point, a lot of poor people, a lot of, I think if poor people knew, and when I say poor people, the oppressed, if oppressed people really knew that, you know what, there's nothing, this is it. Your one opportunity is here now. You die now, there is nothing beyond it. We wouldn't put up for half the shit we're putting up with right now. And I'm talking this in terms of the whole population, you know, within the capitalist structure, this consumerism, this culture we've created. Also, we wouldn't waste so much time.
See, you know, I don't think there's a lot of differences from now and 1,000 years ago. We just don't know what those differences are because they didn't then. And like, it's like 1,000 years ago, the people that wrote the narrative, the guys that wrote the Bible, or they wrote all the stories and everything, and they wrote history. Like, how many people could write then? How many people could read then? It was only the elite people that controlled and could write down everything. And I'm sure some of that got, you know, knowing that men tell a lot of stories, I'm sure some of it got changed. Yeah, we're fine, man. We're fine. We're gonna wrap up in a second, buddy. Anyway,
it's gonna get pitch dark in a minute.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah, but you're fine. You're fine. I can edit all this anyway. So I quite like the dark kind of mood. Actually, it looks pretty cool. I'm going to give the last kind of word to you. What do you want to say to people out there at the moment? What we're all going through, and you know how people gonna carry on and find some strength in exercise and just their own mental preparedness. What's your kind of your finishing thought on the world at the moment, really?
I think, you know, like this, especially in the kind of world that we live in, I think too much importance is placed on happiness, you know, so like or feeling of happiness. So because everybody will always tell you, oh, well, I don't feel happy, oh, but I'm not happy. It's like, I think, you know, like try to find purpose, live with purpose rather than chasing happiness. Happiness doesn't last. You know, happiness is brief, you know, you can have it, but it's generally a byproduct of a life with purpose. So if you focus on purpose, you will have happiness. If you focus on happiness, you won't have it and you won't have purpose.
That's a great mantra, man. That's a great mantra. Because even though you go through adversity, if you have a purpose, you're still going forward.
Yeah. And then I'm telling you, I don't have the, you know, what's the word? Almost a silly kind of happiness where you're giggling away like that.
Yeah.
You know, but I have contentness and I'm proud in what I'm doing. And that if I could package that and sell it, I would be a billionaire, you know, but so that I would say to people is focus on that, have purpose. And if you don't have it because you don't have meaning or you don't know what to, you don't subscribe to God, you don't have a family, make one, fabricate one, create it and follow it with all your heart, fully submit to it and go.
That's awesome, man. KLAUS, I'm going to let you fade back into the darkness now so you can get your energy for the next day ahead.
Cool.
Dude, thanks for...
Thank you.
Yeah, honestly, thanks for coming on. I do admire what you do, buddy. You're a great person. You've got a great message, and I think people can learn so much from you, buddy.
Thank you.
Keep doing what you're doing. Just keep doing what you're doing, and don't let the bastards grind you down. I know you won't, but it's awesome to speak with you. And maybe we'll do it again in a while and catch up with what's been happening to you. So I'm going to give you one of these.
Okay. Say,
That's
brother.
it.
Thank you.
Take care of yourself.
No worries.
All right, buddy. Take care. Look after yourself, yeah? Stay safe. Stay safe.
Bye.
Take care, buddy. Bye-bye. Bye. So it was a pleasure to speak to KLAUS. I'm sure you will agree. He's a very unique gentleman. Stay strong, stay safe, take care of one another. If you valued the content, please like, share, subscribe. But even better than that, leave us a comment. Let us know what you thought. Whether you agree with us, disagree with us. Take care. Look after one another. See you next time.